Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage of the Vault series. This is part two of a two-part interview we did with the great A-Team keyboardist here in Nashville, Pig Robbins. Pig talks about all the great people that he played with and actually plays some of the licks that he played on some of those great records. I hope you enjoy it. Pig Robbins. What was it like doing the Dylan sessions?
Well, man, that was back, I don't know, middle 60s, I guess, and that was totally different from anything I'd ever done before, because we'd always been structured to be there, 2 o'clock, and we'd be ready to start playing, and we'd get 3 or 4 country songs or whatever, and they booked Bob Dylan at 6 and 10, and he might not show up till 10 o'clock, and he'd say, well, boys, I got to write a song. And so he'd want everybody to get out of the studio, and we'd roam the halls till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then he'd say, all right, I got one.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was wild. And then some of the songs would run 7 or 8 minutes, oh my God, I had never experienced anything like that. So it was really, really different.
That was kind of an expensive way to write, wasn't it, on studio time?
Well, it was, but he was already in the money before he came to Nashville.
From what Fast Eddie, the engineer Fast Eddie, told
me, I know Eddie,
that it was not been good if the police had walked in.
No, definitely wouldn't.
There was a lot of wild crazies going on in there.
Absolutely. Couldn't you tell by everybody get stoned?
Yeah, right.
Because we all were.
What was Dylan like to work with? I mean himself. Not just, what kind of guy was he?
He didn't have a lot to say. He was, he'd say, well, I like that or I don't like that, or whatever. He was, Bob more or less, Johnson more or less, run the thing, and him and Dylan would kind of hash it out,
So Dylan didn't say, hey, Pig, let's go down and get a Coke or something like that?
No.
So did you ever have much of a conversation with him at all?
No. I mean, he would, if somebody told a joke, he'd laugh at it and carry, that sort of thing, but I don't remember him being that sociable to us.
Mm-hmm.
He might have been. I think Charlie McCoy was leader on. He might have been the Charlie, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Did you have you ever done any much recording work outside of Nashville?
I went to New York. Shelby took us all to New York one time, and then I went to L.A. and recorded with Haggard out there once, and then I went out to after I did that tour with Neil Young back in '85. He brought us out to his farm there, and we did some more recording.
You went on tour with Neil Young?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that. I'm a huge Neil Young fan.
Yeah, he went country there for a while. He come in here and done a country album, and that's back when Farm Aid and Live Aid, I played Live Aid with him and played Willie's Picnic and some things. That's when he was getting interested in the Farm Aid thing,
That was in '85, you say?
'85 is when I did the tour, yeah, and he did the album that year, a country album, and he decided he wanted to take a country band. And
so, was that fun?
yeah. This is a new experience to me. That's the only time I ever toured with anybody,
Really, that was it? Just Neil Young?
Well, 7 weeks, though. It's 7 weeks away from home. That was a long time,
Was he very accommodating?
Oh, yeah. He was he was a jewel. I mean, he paid good money. We stayed in the best hotels, and, had everything at our fingertips, and
really?
He was he was a jewel. I liked working for him. We'd work maybe three nights at the most a week, and paid great money. always considered myself a pretty damn good partier till I went out with that. After about 2 weeks, old Pig was wanting to give it a rest.
How did you get the name Pig, Pig?
I got that in the school, the blind school. In the old school, it was built in 1848. It was used as a Civil War hospital and all that. And it was a real old building. Anyway, they had these fire escapes, big old metal fire escapes that we would, it'd let us go down a couple of times a year to what they call clean them out and get us used to it in case there was ever a fire, you know.
Clean them out?
Well, you know, they'd get rusty, you know, and they'd give us old...
dress you up in sandpaper?
Well, no, they would give us grass sacks, you know, to slide down on and so forth, kind of clean them out.
Oh, you mean there's like they were slide out?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You'd go,
right. Okay.
They'd spiral down. And, anyway, I would like to, I loved them after, you know, first couple of times I got to go down them. I'd sneak in there and play in them, you know, when I wasn't supposed to be in there. And the supervisor, as soon as she saw me, you know, I'd be so black and dirty, she knew exactly where I'd been, you know. And she said, "Well, you're as dirty as a little pig," you know, and the kids thought that's funny.
So that was it?
That's it.
That's all you did?
That's all I did, and I've been hung with that ever since. But hell, with a name like Hargis, who can remember? Who can remember that, you know?
You were part of the, everybody says you're part of the, like, the original A-Team, I guess. What was it like playing with those guys, like Harold Bradley and Bob Moore and?
I loved playing with them all. You know, we all got along good. Actually, Floyd Kramer was the original of the A-Team, but then, you know, after he had his big hit with Last Date, he got kind of retired from sessions and started doing concerts, you know, with Chet and then I got in with that group, and but I loved working with them. We all did just a great amount of records, you know, and was lucky enough to play on a bunch of hits.
What was it like playing with Bob Moore?
Oh, I loved the King. He was Bob. He played with so much force and everything, percussive. He was just a driving bass player, you know. And he was a character too. He used to pull all kind of jokes on me in the studio because, like in Columbia B, the bass stood right by the piano, you know, and I used to smoke, and they had a big old square glass ashtray that set up on the piano, and I would light up a cigarette and we'd do a take, you know, and I'd put it up there in the corner, and when we get through, I'd reach up there, and he'd turn. I'd reach up there at the same corner every time, you know, and he'd turn the corner, and my cigarette's gone. It must have burned up, you know. So I'd light up another one, and hell, I had 4 of them going one time, and it was a glass deal. It got so hot it exploded.
It cracked.
Yeah, it did.
No kidding. Yeah, I heard.
He's always, you know, I'd sit there at the piano one of those. Having playbacks, you know, and he'd put paper coffee cups and sandwich wrappers and all kinds of stuff on my keyboard, and when it started counting off, I'd reach over to the keyboard, you know, and it'd be all that crap on there.
I heard he was a jokester with you on some things. We got some thoughts on Pete Drake?
Oh, Pete, yeah, he was. Pete was a unique steel player. You know, he didn't have the chops that Buddy Emmons had, or Hal Rugg, or Lloyd Green, or somebody like that. And he would tell you so, but Pete knew how to place a little slide or a little pedal lick or something in just the exact place where it counted, you know. And it would mean so much, you know. I always admired him for that. For as far as records was concerned, he was an ace at that.
When did you play with the Everly Brothers? What period of time? Was that with Chet or?
Yeah, it was after they had all their big hits on Cadence, and they'd gone on to 20th Century or Warner Brothers or somebody.
Did you ever play in the old RCA Studio, RCA B?
Oh yeah, cut a lot of hits over there with Porter and Dolly and George Hamilton. Abilene was cut over there, and Bobby Bear, Detroit City, and you know, a lot of them old things. Golly. A bunch of things was cut in there. Well, Waylon started cutting in there, and just a lot of those earlier people. The Browns, Jimmy Ed and the Browns cut in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Skeeter cut in there.
And the World.
Yeah, I wasn't on that one, but she yeah, that was where that was cut.
What was some of your? What do you have a favorite studio that you used here in Nashville?
I love Columbia B.
B.
Yeah.
The Quonset Hut.
Yeah.
What was it about the Quonset Hut, Pig? I mean, and coming from your perspective, you know, not, you know, seeing it through your ears, I guess is how I would have to say it would be. I mean, was it when you walked in the room? Was there just a difference in the silence or the?
Well, it was just always comfortable to me. Now, I don't know if it's because I more or less started out there. I started out there and RCAB because they was about the same, you know, age. But it was just always comfortable. I loved that old piano that was over there, and just the layout and everything. You know, and I guess that would come from working in the climate, you know, that situation so long.
Did it sound different to you in there?
Yeah, it did. It wasn't too loud and it wasn't too dead.
Mm-hmm. Was there a studio that you didn't much care for, that maybe had a cold feel to it, perhaps?
Well, you know, you had to, as the business grew and they built new studios, you know, I had to get used to, every time I'd go into a new one, I would automatically think, well, you know, this ain't Columbia B, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not comfortable. But the more you worked in it, the more, you know, you had to adapt to it, and the more you got used to it.
Did you ever do Woodland, Leverett Woodland?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
How did you like 1111, which is gone?
1111, yeah, that was all right. I didn't like it as well as Columbia B, of course. I didn't like any of them.
Yeah. Did you like A, Columbia A?
Not as well.
It had a bigger feel to it. I mean, it had more of a.
It was bigger, and you know, and then it got into the more of the separation and earphones and that sort of thing. You know, I didn't like the piano up there.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as good as the one downstairs. I didn't think.
And that was the old Steinway.
Yeah, it was a Steinway. Of course, the one downstairs was too.
Yeah. So, Pig, you were talking about your kind of a rolling style that you had, and Mr. Bradley Owen didn't like that, or wanted it?
Yeah, he didn't like a lot of heavy rhythm. He was like a lot of. He didn't like a lot of heavy piano rhythm anyway.
Like what?
Fats Domino is what I call it, the rhythm. You know, he didn't like that.
What would have been his?
Well, he was more, you know, well, it'd be according to what. I mean, if he was playing shuffle, you know, he didn't mind that, but you know, he just didn't like heavy rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
He was more or less. Matter of fact, one time I was trying to impress him. You know, when I was playing a lot of. You know, I forgot who was doing anyway, and he come out and he says, No, no, no. If you just can't tinkle around up in the high section, I'd rather you just didn't play.
Tinkle around?
Tinkle around. You know, he liked the high. You know, he liked the high end. He didn't go much for the mid and low end.
Well, think back to Studio B, Charlie Rich, maybe one of the most memorable riffs ever put on piano, especially country crossover. How did the Behind Closed Doors come? I mean, did you just have that in your stored back that you were going to use it somewhere? Or did you come up with it on the spot, or?
Nah, Billy had the idea for putting them 3 licks out front. You know, that's Billy's deal.
Did he have it, or did he? I mean, was it all Billy, or did he show you the lick, or did you?
Well, he said, well, you know, if we could find, you know, some little lick just to play out front, and you know, we.
So he was looking for a riff.
Yeah, and
you came up with this.
Well, we both did.
Both of you did.
Yeah.
You're supposed to take all the credit. You know that.
Well, I can't, because he was the instigator.
So you co-riffed this. So, would you play it for everybody? Okay, you've passed the audition. That was great, Pig. I tell you what, man, I could. Just if you didn't ever do anything but that your whole career, that would have been pretty amazing. But
yeah, it's lasted. Well, that's just a classic, you know. It's been coming down through the years.
Did you play on "Picture of Me Without You"?
Yeah.
What was that little? That had a little riff in the front of it too, didn't it? Just kicking it off, up on the tinkling around.
Oh well, that was that stuff. You know that.
Yeah, that.
Now Shelby referred to that. There was a guy, a black guy named Ivory Joe Hunter, that had, you know, Since I Met You, Baby. I don't know if you remember that old record or not, but anyway, he that was his style, where he would play the. And so forth. Anyway, that was what we built that picture thing on.
Man, that was there again. That was such a simple but just incredibly memorable lick there. That just you know, you don't have to play at the speed of sound to be. I mean, sometimes less is always best. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was talking about Pete a while ago. He could just take and put a little slide in somewhere that meant so much, or a couple of notes, or a chime, or something. You know, it was just phenomenal.
Hey, Pig, those Alan Jacksons, you've pretty much played on most all his stuff. What's some of those little signature riffs? You know, maybe not. You know, that would be classic in his records that you've added on the low end.
It's just. Stuff like that played down in the low end, in between his lines.
On 14 Karat Mind, that was Gene Watson, right?
Yeah.
What was that riff you did on that song? One of the biggest records of all time out of Nashville was Brown Eyes Blue. Would you mind doing that? And how did you come up with that, man? I mean,
Well, it just hit me.
just sitting in the studio
Yeah.
on the spot.
Yeah, just you know, it's kind of a little melody that came to me.
That's incredible. It's still amazing. I just I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't. All those years that I was privileged to be able to mess around in the studio and do some sessions and stuff. And like I said, I very seldom ever entered the studio with a session book that you weren't there. And you know, I'm thinking back and walking in there and seeing you sit there, and I guess with people who that have sight, you know, and can write stuff down, or read the charts or whatever, it's you don't think much about it. But it always struck me how you just sat there, and everybody else is out there writing and trying to remember everything and having notes and all this stuff, and you hear it and then you just play it. You know, you don't even touch the keyboard. You just hear it and then you play it.
I was listening all the time when they was writing, so and getting a feel for the thing, you know, to see what kind of lyrics what the lyrics had to say, and to try to fit something in there, because you know the singer is the star, is the one out front. We're just the foundation. We're trying to do something to support whoever the singer is, you know.
You're the first guy that I've ever heard say something that hit me pretty hard, that you were listening to what the singer had to say, and that's really, to me, that's the key, is putting the right feel to fit not only the music but the lyrical content. I think that's so important. I don't think a lot of people take the time to actually listen to the lyrics and see what they're saying.
Well, to me, that directs you as to which way to go with it. You know, what kind of feel to put in behind it.
Well, that's why you're a pig, and I'm Piglet. You're the big pig, man. Well, man, I want to tell you, as a friend and as a fan, how much I've enjoyed knowing you all these years, not to mention the enjoyment that I've had way before I knew you, listening to you on the radio and not knowing who you were. I appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. I know that you don't do many. I don't think, from what I hear, you don't do very many at all.
No.
And thank you, man.
You bet. Thank you.